much of what we have talked about has, to me, been filtered through this idea of power and judgment. So power, in terms of a difference in levels of power. And we've had some... No heckling, guys.
Let him talk.
We've had some amazing examples of high power. Can anyone remember, I jacked the cartridge into my shotgun?
Yeah.
Is it on there here? Or was it just briefly gone? Wow, that was a pretty wonderful example of high power. Equal power, Kay and Andra, the World Cafe, which was a phenomenal journey and experience for the Yellows, compadres in Yellows this morning. That was a phenomenal idea. And the low power, so we talked about the guilt and shame and the blame and the pain.
What have you done?
In terms of dominant and marginalised groups. And so when the dominant groups were acknowledging the marginalised, there was a definite necessity and a use of lower power to get that trust, that rapport, that re-engagement in very difficult circumstances. So there was this flexibility, turning up and dialing down. There is the man. Let's give a special clap. Elmer Dixon.
Yes, thank you.
And then we have our judgment. So what is sort of judgmental listening? Let's invent it if it hasn't been already stolen by some professor of a Lille university. So what do we bring with us? Our life learning, our mother, father, brother, sister, teacher, peer group, relationships, our media, our country, our flag, our language, our everything, our influences. But that automatically, what are you doing now? That automatically cuts you off from so much. So we have the facts and we have the emotions, we have this, but we selectively listen. And what do we almost immediately do? Emote and get triggered. We agree, we disagree. We like something or we're offended by it. Which of course is all offensive to me being an Anglo-Saxon. Why can't we just all be quiet, reasonable, modest, underspoken, and let wine and beer do the talking? By the way, a lot of people were disappointed you didn't have warm beer. What can I say? Aspiring middle-class English people would like to drink Bordeaux. Or this particular blue concoction. Thank you, angels. So what do we do in terms of judgmental listening? We start with our life, we select like mad, and then we compare the new information with our lives and our context. And what do we get to? We get to a decision, which is we accept or reject. This is wobbling too much. I'm going to get on. We accept or reject what we find. And then that conclusion or that fact, which is not a fact, grows its own legs. And we get entrenched. We become stubborn. You know who you are. I certainly look in my own mirror occasionally. And that argument, it grows legs, it grows a wall, it becomes a castle, we employ soldiers, we get guns to defend our position. And where does that go? And what are we losing in that? And I think that's the difficulty. And all of those who are intercultural here, put your hand up if you're intercultural. Guilty! Guilty as charged. We're forgetting what we know. It is the good dentist has bad teeth. We've got to cure ourselves. So what is the opportunity? It is to look for alternatives, and we had some just now with Pascal. Alternatives in terms of synergy, in terms of gaps producing something exciting, something positive coming from difference. So we get Trompenard or Bennett looking at that. Or we'll get the de-escalation of conflict. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Kilman. Or we get to make a choice in terms of adopting an emotional position or an emotional response. Or for Brits, we opt out of ever transmitting a valid emotional response. Thank you, Stephen Covey, John Cotter. But what is the opportunity? It is to transcend our lives. Some of those who've left England, most of the Brits here have already done that, Tony, Mark. A few others. It's about transcending our culture and freeing ourselves from our bias, our influence, getting in a helicopter and floating around and just seeing what happens and how exciting and freeing that can be. It's about coming from... No heckling. Keep the lights on. It's about coming from nothing and seeing that as a fantastic opportunity to create a possibility of otherness. So we talk about a lot of reconciliation between human rights, the inalienable rights, the non-negotiable rights, the indivisible rights I loved this week, and the excuses we sometimes make for bad behaviour in culture. So what are we going to do? And this is my plea to you, this is the punchline. Are we going to mobilise our intolerance of intolerance? So I leave you, like an academic, with a question, not an answer. Thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.